invocation first. So if y'all would remain standing, we have a minister here tonight, Nick Scott Welch. I don't see, there he is. He is a retired minister who is going to do our invocation, and then we'll be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let's pray. O Lord, I thank you for these who give guidance and governance to our county. Bless them as they meet and as they make decisions that will affect us all. This prayer we make in the name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
Amen. Thank you, sir. Everybody will remain standing and salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Before we get started, I want to address everyone in the audience as well as members of the commission. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank each one of you for coming here tonight. As you all well know, it's budget time across Warren County, and tensions are running high. Unfortunately, there's also a great deal of misinformation that's been swirling around across the media. And tonight I wish to clear up some of that misinformation and confusion. As Chief Executive Officer and Chief Financial Officer of this government, I consider it my duty to present the options that I see that this commission has before it. Also, as I taught economics and government students for over 40 years in the Warren County school system, there ain't no such thing as a free lunch. And sadly, our lunch box only has a few crumbs left in it. And while we may be able to limp through one more year without additional revenue, and that formula has been used over the past few years to balance our budget, those numbers just do not add up anymore. Another year and it will become more critical than ever. Therefore, none of our options are ideal. No one wants to raise taxes, yet no one wants to see or desire to have cuts in government services. But sadly, that's where we are. During the campaign last year, I repeatedly spoke about the county's finances and the shortfalls in the upcoming budget. At that time, some individuals claimed the county was financially healthy. That could not be further than the truth. The former finance director, Linda Hillis, warned multiple times of the storm that was looming, but no one proposed a plan to fix it. Wait another year and see where we are is no longer an option for this commission if we are going to be true stewards of the taxpayers' dollars. The budget that we were handed by us, the one that we're operating on right now, by the previous commission, has some problems with it. But we can't cast blame on the deficit and the shortfalls, but only propose a plan to fix it. There is one option that's laid before us tonight. It was not my idea to pursue the wheel tax. That came from one of our commissioners who wanted that option explored before it was consideration for a property tax increase and other ways to raise revenue. The wheel tax tonight is merely just an option that's placed before this commission as an alternative to raising property taxes or to keep that increase smaller than it would have been. The conditions of the wheel tax came out of the committee, not from my office. And even if the wheel passed taxes, we still face financial difficulties and decisions, or maybe even a possible cut in services. Even members of this commission have helped spread some of that misinformation, but it is what it is. To make it perfectly clear, I've explored every option about every additional source of revenue that might be available for this county. I've asked all the departments to curtail spending. I've tried to help cut the costs of government operations and promote efficiency across the county. It's my duty and responsibility as the highest elected official in this county to do those things. As you all know, the state monitors every action that myself and the finance directors makes on a daily basis, as it does for every elected official. They hold me accountable for all the operations, all the building maintenance, and all the finances that this county has. I am tasked with protecting the liability of this county as well. And a substantial lawsuit would literally bankrupt this county, and we cannot afford to have any such measure taken against us. If this commission chooses to increase needed revenue to operate this year, We'll be able to fund teacher raises, buy the tools necessary for our children to excel, and to hire more correctional officers for our jail and for the safety of our citizens. It's all about choices, and sometimes these are hard choices. As Chief Financial Officer, that job falls mostly upon me with the help of the Finance Director. If there is no additional revenue added to the county's budget, I will introduce plans to begin making cuts in non-required services. That means curtailing hours of operation at the convenience centers, looking into privatization of some of our services, and adjusting personnel and staff. It's not something that I wish to do or wish to implement. That's not a plan I want to pursue. But there will be few options left at the end of this budget discussion. Shifting around pennies and doing business as usual is not a viable solution anymore for this county. That's been the plan that's been used in the past, but it's time to move forward, not backwards. It's time to be more proactive than reactive. As elected officials, it's not about our own personal preferences, but it's about our public purpose. Decisions should be made based upon facts, not upon emotions. As I've often stated before, no one loves this county more than I do. No one more believes in the potential that we have as a community to grow this economy and grow jobs for the well-being of our children who are our future. And I'm all about believing that this commission will do the right thing at the end and that level heads will prevail. I don't vote on this commission unless there's a tie. The votes that go down tonight or any future discussions or whatever are by this commission based upon the facts that are presented to them. Not misinformation, but the facts and the numbers that come from the state, from our financial advisors, and from Mr. Cotton and his experience and stuff, which he is well trained to do, to present. There's been full transparency in this budget process. Meetings are open. No numbers have been fudged or hedged upon. And so those numbers have always been available. When people say what's happened to that extra 15%, it goes back into the general fund, so our numbers don't look as bad as they were before. And so when we get to this process of governing this county, we have to do it based upon responsibility. Responsibility as elected officials and using the information that's presented to us that is factual, that comes from the sources, not from information spread across Facebook or other forms of media. And so when push comes to shove, I like having a plan. Not just 1 year at a time where we limp along, just barely getting by and covering costs, but one that has vision and strategy attached to it that helps us run effectively and do our jobs. Had there been more planning across the years and looking at finances across the years, we wouldn't be in this situation. But that's what we've inherited. And like I said, not looking back, but looking forward. Not putting fingers on people and saying you're the problem, but having a fix to all of this. Regardless of how any of this plays out tonight, or how much misinformation has been presented in the media, or how much unwarranted blame has been placed upon me without having the facts behind to back it up, ultimately, I am the chair of this commission. I'm Chief Executive Officer and Chief Financial Officer of this government, and the buck does start here. With that being said, I call this commission meeting to order, and we will have roll call.
Michael Bell.
Here.
Carl E. Bolden.
Here.
Carl E. Bolden.
Here.
Carleen Brown. David Dunlap.
Here.
Randy England.
Here.
Deborah Evans.
Here.
Steve Glenn.
Here.
Richard Grissom.
Here.
Stephen Hilton.
Here.
Robert Hennessy.
Here.
Lori Judkins.
Here.
Ron Lee.
Here.
Gary Martin.
Here.
Daniel Owens. Gary Prater.
Here.
Christy Ross.
Here.
Scott Ruble.
Here.
Tommy Savage.
Here.
Tyrone Spartman.
Here.
Joseph Stotts.
Here.
Philip Stout.
Here.
Cole Taylor.
Here.
Blaine Wiltshire.
Here.
22 present.
Thank you. Next is adoption of the docket. The docket has either been sent out to you electronically, or you have received a hard copy, or it's presented back here on the screen. Is there a motion to adopt the docket as presented? We have a motion for Commissioner Evans. Do we have a second? We have a second from Commissioner Dunlap. All in favor of adoption?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I would like to amend the docket by removing resolution number 12-2019.
Would you explain which one that is?
Yes, that is the wheel tax.
So I have a motion to change the docket to not include that resolution. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. We'll have to have a roll call vote on that. That's what I was going to say. Is there any discussion on that? Mr. Hilton?
I have, Mr.
Mr.
Chairman.
Hilton asked for first. Mr. Hilton,
I was asking whether there was going to be discussion.
I said, do you want to be recognized? That's what I asked.
I believe that this wheel tax is something that we need to explore. And I'll be honest with you, Executive Haley actually said that it was not his idea, and that's a correct statement. It was actually my idea. I went to Justin Cotton after a meeting and said how we're going to fund all this stuff. And it's not that I'm for a wheel tax, not that I'm against a wheel tax. That's not what I am. I'm just looking at exploring what it would take to fund our budget. So I believe that at this point in the game, we're a little premature. I believe that we need to do a little bit more investigation. We don't even have a consolidated budget that we've been able to look at. We don't know how much revenue that we need for our budget. We don't know what our expenses are going to be. And so it's sort of hard for me as a commissioner to vote on a wheel tax, vote on any tax without having all that in one little bucket to look at. Because whenever I go for a loan for a house or something of that nature, and I go to my banker and he asks, what are we going to build, what are we going to buy? I don't know. We need 1.1 million, whatever. That's not a good answer. So you, the taxpayers, are our bankers. And we need to know what we're going to spend and what we're going to spend it on. I need to be able to tell you that I need a wheel tax for X number of jailers or a new road or a new school or whatever that be. And at this point in the game, I don't think us as 24 commissioners can do that. So therefore, I do support putting this off for another month until we can get a consolidated budget and be able to look at this with not only the wheel tax alone, but are we going to have a property tax and the consolidated budget where we can look at it as one lump sum to know exactly what needs to be done?
Thank you, Commissioner. We have received a consolidated budget. The budget had moved through Budget and Finance. There have been cuts. There may be additional cuts made by Budget and Finance and Financial Management. But that consolidated budget, the preliminary one was sent out. Another one was sent out by Finance Director Cotton last week for your consideration. So yes, those numbers are there. And as far as for the wheel tax is concerned, the way the process works on that, you had several options to do the wheel tax. The option that was pursued in order to get it on the docket so it could be considered for a source of revenue was back-to-back meetings in June and July. It has to pass by 2/3, not 2/3 of those present, but 2/3 of the Standing Commission of 24, which is 16 votes. And so, once again, I don't vote on this. If you do not get 16 votes tonight, which would probably be the recommendation by some people here, and just let it see. If it fails tonight, then it's of no consideration whatsoever, and they could only be brought up from the floor in a meeting in the future. So at this point, would anybody else like to speak to the motion to remove the wheel tax resolution from the agenda tonight?
I would, Mr. Chairman.
You're recognized.
Folks, the issue that I have with this is the same as Commissioner Helton. We are gathering information. We have what Mr. Executive has said, preliminary budget. That's what we were sent on Thursday. I think almost everybody in here is a working employee, self-employed or government employed otherwise. But we do not have time to go over these numbers. I think there's 40-something pages of this budget. We've got preliminary numbers. There are some numbers, and I think Mr. Cotton would concur that there are numbers that are blank still on this preliminary budget. We're not against presenting this budget to the commission, but we would like to do it next month when we have all the numbers. I think the community would expect us to have all the numbers and all the information before we vote for this. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Of course, once again, if you vote it down tonight, then once again, by delaying it, if you vote it down tonight, it won't be any consideration whatsoever. These meetings have all been open to the public, and all these discussions in budget and finance and financial management. Some of you said you haven't had time to do your due diligence on this. Mr. Cotton has been available. I've been available. Very few people have spoken to me or Mr. Cotton about this budget and about the numbers. And so if the concerns were there, attending meetings or asking for that information, all a budget is a plan for spending. Then there's no more information probably available last year at this time when the budget was being considered than there is now. And so numbers are always changing. That's what a budget does and what a budget is. You always have emergencies as well. We have one emergency in this budget that we have right now before the end of this month. I'm not really sure if the elevator goes out on the courthouse again, how we'll pay for it. If there's a disaster of some sort, not sure how we're going to pay for it. And so there's another, indication that, there's some unforeseen expense out there. Once again, a budget is a plan for spending. And so those numbers are out there. And so, the time and due diligence, I've worked on them. Mr. Cotton has worked on them as well. He is our financial expert. We met with our financial advisor last week as well. And so that information will be presented by Mr. Cotton in his finance report with some of the numbers that some of you say you do not have, but they are there. So whether you like to think about them not being there or not, these budget meetings are open. Financial management is open to the public. Nothing that we do is closed to the public. It's your tax dollars. Those ideas and those information that's out there has always been presented to any citizen that asks for those numbers.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
call for the question.
So any other further discussion on the recognized Commissioner Evans first?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I understand what both of you have said, and at this point in time, the budget is preliminary. A property tax rate cannot be approved until the budget is accepted by us. If we are going to consider a wheel tax, which I was opposed to at first, Commissioner Hilton, but I attended these meetings and learned that we still may have to do a property tax increase and/or cut needed courtesy services. Therefore, I decided that I support the wheel tax vote tonight for sure, because for it to pass, it's needed back-to-back votes. So even if 16 of us accept it tonight, that doesn't mean it will happen. We have July's meeting, it has to be voted on again. Rather than close the door to this opportunity to make it a fair tax, even for those who don't own land, I think we should leave it on the agenda. Thank you.
Any further discussion, because there's been a call for the question? Call for the question, we'll have to call the vote to take it off the agenda.
Michael Bell,
Yes.
Carl D. Bolden,
Yes.
Carl E. Bolden,
Yes.
David Dunlap,
No.
Randy England,
Yes.
Deborah Evans,
No.
Steve Glenn,
Yes.
Richard Grissom,
No.
Stephen Hilton,
Yes.
Robert Hennessy,
No.
Lori Jenkins,
No.
Ron Lee,
No.
Gary Martin,
Yes.
Gary Prater,
Yes.
Christie Ross,
No.
Scott Ruble,
Yes.
Tommy Savage,
No.
Tyrone Spartman,
Yes.
Joseph Stotts,
No.
Philip Stout,
Yes.
Cole Taylor,
Yes.
Blaine Wiltshire.
Yes.
You may want to change their vote.
13 yes, 9 no. The motion carries to remove it from the docket. Now, do I have a motion to approve the docket as amended? A motion from Commissioner Helton. Do we have a second? Second from Commissioner Stout. All in favor of the adoption of the docket?
Mr.
minus-
Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I've got another amendment, and I talked with Director Cotton. We actually passed a continuing resolution in in Monday night's meeting, and I talked with Director Cotton, and according to TCA, it's no longer necessary, so I would ask that be stricken from the docket as well. There's no necessity for it anymore. I can give you a copy of the code.
We have to have,
By law, we have until August to pass the budget. Now, there's no necessity for continuing.
we have to
resolution.
have a continuing budget because July 1st starts the fiscal year. So we have got to do, Mr. Cotton?
Commissioner Rubley presented me with a TCA that states otherwise.
So,
If you'd like, did you bring any extra copies of that?
Mr. Bratcher, have you looked at this?
State statute does permit it to go to August. However, we have adopted the 1981 Financial Management Act, and inside of our own particular rules, we have to have our own docket set by July. So it does need to come in for the July 1 pursuant to our 81 adopted act.
This, if you want to read this, I'm not sure where this all came from. We approach the bench and since we'll be continuing budgets from one fiscal year to another.
Yeah, and again, I think this is correct. You can do this. However, our own adopted 81 Act requires us to have a budget by July 1. So you don't have to have any specific date on the 81 Act, but the 81 Act that we did adopt does require it to be by July 1. So we do need to pass a continuing resolution tonight.
Mr. Chairman, I withdraw my request.
Thank you, sir. So a motion is second to adopt the docket with the removal of the wheel tax resolution. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. We now have a docket. Reading of minutes. I think each member of the commission has had the minutes emailed to you or received a hard copy. We have a motion to dispense with reading and presume.
I'll make that motion, Chairman.
Who's made that motion? Oh, Commissioner Bell made that motion. Is there a second? Second from Commissioner Judkins. I want to say Wiltshire. Commissioner Judkins. So all in favor of adoption of the reading of the minutes or the approval of reading of minutes and dispense with reading, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Next item is employee recognition. Did Shelby come? Anyway, so every commission meeting, I've tried to recognize and give a shout out to employees. And so one of the employees who's been outstanding over the last couple of months through a lot of hard times is Ms. Shelby Newman, who's been working at the animal shelter. And so shelter has not been easy. It's been a hard task. So with the help of a lot of individuals and volunteers, we've been able to stabilize conditions at the animal shelter, looking forward to hiring a new director and moving on in order to keep the facility certified and to keep the doors and the operations open. So I will give this little shout out to Shelby Newman, an employee appreciation for tonight, and I will get that certificate to her tomorrow morning. Next item on the agenda is elected official and departmental reports. First report is finance, so Chair recognizes Finance Director Cotton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the commission, you have my report. I will take any questions you have at this time.
Director Cotton. I do have a question in regards to our...
Chair recognizes Mr. Hilton.
Sorry. Do have a question in regards to our revenues. You know, there's multiple ways to look at our revenues, but as I look at just the first page here, I see some percentages coming in, and what I have done is I presented you a document here basically stating that we have a non-budgeted extra income, and I just wanted to make sure that I did that correctly. Basically, on the first line item of current property tax, you see that there's 103.75%. So that 3.75% basically shows that we've got 219,000 and some change there. But what this document that I've presented you shows that we have over $2 million that is in non-budgeted extra income. I just want to make sure that is income that we didn't plan on in this budget that's going to help offset that windfall or that deficit that we've got, correct?
That is correct. One of the reasons you'll notice that every one of the property taxes is over-collected is the state mandates a 9% deferment in calculation of the penny in order to soundly project property tax collections. We have not realized the full 9% of that deferment this year, so we have collected more than we were expecting by state calculation. And many of these others are local taxes, local fines. We do have a few state items and a couple federal ones on here, but yes, these numbers are over-collected. This is a historical practice of the county to conservatively budget our revenues in order to prevent shortfalls in the year. So, but yes, this document does appear to be correct.
Okay, and just, I will put a disclaimer out there. You know, I did these numbers very quickly, so there may be a typo or something in there. But basically, you can see the account, what we budgeted, the actual number that we brought in, what's been released, and then the non-budgeted is the extra income. Please keep in mind, that is to date, and we've still got 2 more months of potential revenue to come in as well. That's all I have. Thank you.
That is correct. No, this is an April report, so, yeah, there are 2 more months, but again, our big money makers have already come in for at least the smaller funds and the general fund. We will realize more gains in excess of projected revenues. I'm currently thinking that instead of 746,000, it'll be somewhere close to $1 million in the general fund, with a similar, allocation across the other funds. And these numbers will go a long way to help offset the $8 million deficit that was passed last year. So this $2 million that's here, plus the probably 500,000 to $1 million of other unbudgeted income as is presented here, will go a long way to offset the large deficit that we had passed from last year that will help keep our fund balances from depleting. That, along with wise spending practices and good management by our directors to keep their expenses down and not spend their entire budgets.
Will we not also have to write off some bad debt here in the next little bit as well?
We will have to start looking at that, and ambulance department the ambulance fund has a significant amount of bad debt that has been recommended that we look at it and see about writing off some of the older uncollectible funds.
So, any other questions of the finance director? Do we have a motion to accept the finance director's report? Yes, we have a question. Chair recognizes Commissioner Evans.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Director Cotton. And I may be wrong here, but this says ending in April 30. So we have May and June to bring in more revenue. Do we also have bills coming in those 2 months that we have to?
We do.
Okay, thank you.
Our bills actually come in a little slower than our revenues do. Many funds don't spend any money in July because the bills are backdated. So we'll actually receive bills in July for services rendered in June. So we'll be actually, this year's actual expenditures will be rolling in all the way up until mid to late July.
Mr. Chairman.
Recognize Mr. Prater.
So what I'm sitting here gathering, I'm a country boy from Centertown. So we have roughly $2.5 million, what I heard you say.
Yeah.
But we're wanting to raise vehicle tax and property taxes.
Correct, because while we may be looking at bringing in an additional $2 million this year over what we expected to bring in $8 million less than we expected to spend. We're going to come really close, especially in the general fund. The general fund specifically, we projected a $3.3 million deficit for last year. by the budget, and we're expecting to realize $1 million deficit. And that is including the $746,000 of excess revenues.
Just to know that we've done quite a few cost savings across the county over the last few months, and our directors, elected officials have done an outstanding job of curtailing spending. Told them to spend only on needs in my cabinet meetings with them, and wants come last, and to not look at wants at all. We've refinanced some notes to do some savings on that. We've had tax sales, and we'll have another tax sale this fall. We've put together some plans to consolidate some positions in finance with the school system and the highway department. We're looking at electronic POs and invoices in order to save some paper and expense and time on that. We're doing electronic dockets. We've got a new website that makes most of what we do very transparent and visible. We've got a new office management program within my office that the county is using, that the state and a lot of offices use across the state of Tennessee. We've set up Gmails in order to correspond and save $18,000 worth of stamps over the course of years. We've had a survey by R.J. Young. We'll be able to piggyback upon a Metro bid in order to save a lot of money in office equipment that needs to be replacing that's old and antiquated. We've been piggybacking on through financial management, using buy boards and using bids and contracts that other government entities can use. We've got unclaimed property that I've made a petition for the state to be returned to us. It's sitting in the coffers in the state of Tennessee, which I should know by the end of this month how much money is coming back to us. We've had a lot of savings in the school system with ESG. They've done a survey of these buildings, and if we adopt the ESG program for the 5 county buildings, we'll be saving upwards to $85,000 or $90,000 a year in energy costs, and another $55,000 to $60,000 in maintenance on HVAC equipment that's 15, 20 years or more older that's failing. We can't count on internet sales tax collections just yet. The state says be a little bit cautious on that. Several commissioners want to explore the option of having a finance review, an audit of all of our expenses, particularly for utilities. So committee authorized me to contact the Barrett Group, and so we're looking at that option as well. There'll be some FEMA money that should be available to help the highway department on some of our road repairs, so that's going to save us some money. And by being ADA compliant by the end of this year, we should be able to preserve our federal and state highway safety monies that we return to the county as well. So spending 80-85%, some budgets are tighter than that, will allow for a little bit more money to go into the general fund, but there'll still be deficits across most departments that will have to be addressed. So we have a motion and a second to approve the finance report. We have a motion from Commissioner Evans and a second from
I'll second it.
Commissioner Hilton. All in favor of the adoption of finance report, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Next is the UT Extension Office, so the chair recognizes Ms. Hilda Lytle.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the County Commission. You have my report. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to try to answer those at this time.
Move to adopt.
We have a motion for Commissioner Rubley, a second for Commissioner Bell. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. Next is the Warren County Memorial Airport June quarterly report. So Chair recognizes Director Crawford from the airport.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, County Commissioners. You have a copy of my report, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have at this time.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Lee. We have a second from Commissioner Glenn. Any further questions or discussion? Then all in favor of adoption say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Motion carries.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you, sir. Building Environmental Codes Department quarterly report. Chair recognizes Director Thompson.
Commissioner Haley, members of the court, you have a copy of my report. I'd be glad to answer any questions at this time.
So I have a motion to approve from Commissioner Spartman, a second from Commissioner Stout. Anybody got any further questions or discussion? All in favor of adoption of that report, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. Next is EMA report. Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Chair recognizes Mr. Cunningham.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, if you have any question about my report that you have, I'll be glad to answer.
We have a motion from Commissioner Bell. Is there a second from Commissioner Stotts? Anybody got any further question for discussion? Then all in favor of adoption, Mr. Cunningham's report, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. Next is EMS quarterly report. So we have Director Denny here. Chair recognizes him.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen of the court, you've got a copy of our report. We'd be happy to answer any questions.
Move to adopt.
We have a motion from Commissioner Lee. Is there a second?
I'll second.
From Commissioner Ross. Anybody got any further questions for? Yes, sir.
Mr. Denon, are you running deficit this year?
Well, I mean, right now our collections are through May are 2.6 million, and so I mean our budget's 3.7, and then we're looking at somewhere between 300,000 and 400,000 that we should have left.
So we're running pretty good in your department.
And we should be under budget.
Okay. Well, I just noticed in the proposed budget that Executive Haley put out that was in the paper that you were going to be about 700,000 in the hole next year. So I was just checking on you for this year. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Cotton, did you have anything to say about that?
I'm sorry, how much did you say your collections were?
On this report here with A&B, it's showing from July 1 through May, 2.6 million, $2,608,216.92.
Okay. Yes. Right now, you're running pretty close to break even. Yeah.
Break even, and the $700,000 was the bad debt that we're going to have to write off.
Right.
Thank you, sir. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor of adoption, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, Director Denning. Next, Chair recognizes Mr. Donald Alexander for his industrial development report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. I'll be glad to answer any questions you might have about my report.
It's not in your report, but there is obviously a new industrial park over in Marson now that we purchased the land. And I'm getting a lot of questions in regard to what the plan is with that industrial park, where it's located at, and what we had to spend on that. If you could just tell us a little bit about what that is and what it's going to be used for.
I'm glad to. I know this is not the forum for a lot of speculation on this or whatever, but what we've done is the requests that we've been receiving have been requests for property that's not on the interstate, but just off the interstate. So what we've done is we have surveyed all of the land that is in this particular area, and this site came out as best we could as being close to the interstate and being just off what I call an interstate equivalent highway, Highway 55, that is basically 4-lane with median. And there's only one school zone that you have to go through, and you only slow down to 35 miles per hour through there. One of the real attractions to this site is that we can get rail access to it off the Caney Fork and Western Railroad. And that, again, is one of the gems of this site, because typically when you have an industry that needs rail, is a lot of times a heavy industry and paying wages above our median income level and provides great benefits. So this is a long-range plan for the future of our county, and our grandfathers have provided a good economy for us to have good, solid jobs here. We want to do the same for the future that's coming along.
If I could make a comment, Mr. Helton, the state has been wanting us to develop an alternate site with several hundred acres. There'll be state grant monies that will be used to develop this property and get the rail access and the highway access to that. And so it's a great way to grow our economy and to grow jobs and bring future investment into our community. And that would be more than welcomed in order to basically stabilize our tax rates as well and generate more revenue and more income for our citizens, particularly with higher paying jobs. So the state is very excited about this. The meetings that I have attended, they've been looking for a site here. And so I want to thank the Industrial Development Board to be forward-thinking enough in order to pursue that and to make that happen without using earmarked county funds from this commission or from the taxpayers in order to do all of that.
And from my standpoint, Warren County has been very excited about this. The feedback has been very positive.
And what was the size of this,
218 acres.
in the actual location again?
It is just on, it's the Warren County, Coffee County line, just off of Wild Park Road.
So once again, this isn't really the forum to discuss this, but then Mr. Alexander, I'm sure his door is always open, and there's an Industrial Development Board meeting this Thursday at 1:15, so. Any other questions? In favor of adopt? Yes, sir.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion for Commissioner Hilton, second for Commissioner Stotts. All in favor of adoption, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. Next item is committee reports. So first committee report is Budget and Finance, and the chair recognizes our chairman, Mr. Grissom.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Budget and Finance is in the budget review process, and we have our next meeting scheduled for Tuesday, June the 25th at 6:30 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item is Building and Grounds. So Commissioner Carl E.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At this time, Building and Grounds has nothing to report. Thank you.
Thank you. Economic and Agricultural Development, chair recognizes Mr. Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Economic and Agriculture Committee has nothing to report this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Got Education, so who's making the education report? So chair recognizes Commissioner Hennessy.
Education Committee has nothing to report at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Financial Management, chair recognizes Commissioner Cotton.
Financial Management has nothing to report at this time.
So Health and Welfare, chair recognizes Commissioner Wiltshire.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Unfortunately, I have nothing to report at this time, but if there's any information that you have toward what's going on there as far as our hiring process, we would appreciate that.
I'm going to do that under announcements a little bit as well. Or I can go ahead and do this a little bit right now. We did do interviews, or I did for the director's job. Some of those would not take the position due to the pay scale that was offered commensurate with the duties. The biggest thing is with hiring somebody, I can't just hire anybody off the street. To be state certified, there's all kinds of codes that have to be compliant. You've got euthanasia drugs. There's all kinds of documentation and cataloging of receipts that have to be done. And so, what I'm looking for is someone from experience that can walk into that facility and operate it. We've used volunteers and a lot of hard work from Shelby and Magic and others out there to stabilize things and to clean up some of the operations. And so hopefully we'll be able to announce a director soon. But a lot of it I've been hesitant on about the budget and what's going to be available for that. We cannot operate the facility and keep it state compliant unless there's enough staff out there and funding out there to keep those facilities open. Otherwise, all we are is a holding tank for animals, and so we'll not be able to do our job or be able to actually transport animals through rescue or do any kind of maintaining other than just a holding facility, which is much similar to what the city does. And so, our operations are for the entire county. It is a 365-day job, 7 days a week. The animals that are there have to be fed, they have to have meds, it has to be cleaned every day. And so, we're depending upon, one full-time person and a half-time person and volunteers right now to keep those doors open. And even when we had a full-time director, it was not enough staff to basically do what needed to be done at that facility. And so I'm going to be calling a meeting here soon of all the players and discuss some options out there and in order to get a little bit more input from folks. And so we should be able, I've got a plan, but we should be able to move forward on something soon. If not, we'll be in transition in order to keep the facility open. But if we can't keep it state compliant, there's no reason for us to be in the animal control business. So Highway and Bridge, Chair recognizes Commissioner Prater.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We've completed our second round of mowing, and we're in pretty good shape financially out there. We've not asked for a increase in property taxes for the highway department in a long, long time, and we don't need one now. Thank you.
So Policy and Personnel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Chair recognizes Commissioner Savage. I'm sorry, I was listening to what was going on over here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At this time, Policy and Personnel has nothing to report.
Thank you, sir. Next is Safety, so Chair recognizes Commissioner Lee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At this time, Safety has nothing to report.
Thank you. Next is County Corrections Partnership. Chair recognizes Commissioner Hilton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We are excited to say that we did get the computers in. I talked to the sheriff earlier today. He said that they're really nice, except for one small issue, that the old software is not working like it should. And so we're going to be revisiting that as far as there's a program called Psalms that they put the inmates in and stuff. And so it's not wanting to work with Windows. But that's some of the issues that we're dealing with. ESG, I talked to Executive Haley prior to the meeting. They're going in, they're looking at upgrading the building and
all the internal improvements.
And so hopefully we'll have some updates from them, some quotes. Alan hadn't been getting back to us like we wanted them to, and so we're trying to move forward, looking at the roofs and looking at lighting issues, looking at HVAC systems, trying to get that jail up to code. Our next meeting, we'll try to set tentatively right now, we're going to set it for July the 9th at 6:30. At 6:30 at the jail. So if you want to attend that, hopefully we'll get some more updates there. Population right now is at 270. So we are above our threshold and we are above capacity at this point. So that's all I have to report at this time.
Thank you, sir. Redistricting committee has yet to be set, but we will be starting to meet here regularly when the budget process is over, as we anticipate the redrawing of districts when the census of 2020 is completed. So that census committee has been meeting regularly. We're doing a planning session next week in order to put together some strategies and marketing in order to get everyone counted in Warren County. It's extremely important that every person is counted, whether a citizen or not. Federal revenue depends upon it. Undercounting our population jeopardizes our representation not only in Nashville in the General Assembly, but also in Nashville, or being combined with districts where we are underrepresented, which is already the case in rural communities. And so it's extremely important that we count everybody. If we don't count 6,000 people, we drop below a certain threshold, we get reclassified, and then we get added to several other counties again. And so we're less likely to have any representation in Nashville whatsoever. It'll always be an outside, particularly if we're grouped with a larger county. And so it's crucial, for the future of this county that we count every single person and do it accurately. The last 2010, I think I mentioned it before, it was estimated that we undercounted by approximately 15%. And so if that gets closer to 20 or 30%, that could cost us huge amounts of money in tax dollars coming from the state and the federal government. And once again, like I said, representation. So if any of you would like to help serve on that census committee, I'm the chairman of that also as well. We will, give you a duty and responsibility. So anyways, we move forward. We will keep you informed. So next item on the agenda is a special presentation. So we've tried to educate our commission. So tonight I've asked our director of the airport and members of the airport commission to present to the commission and to the audience. Some of y'all need to move to where you can see the screen. You can, but I will recognize now Dr. Roberts, I think, and Director Crawford, and I'm not sure who else is here, to do a presentation about the airport, its vitality and importance to this community as we move forward with projects and programs out there that will benefit our county and help promote us in this new global economy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am Mike Roberts. I am here on behalf of Warren County Veterans Memorial Airport, and I do thank you for your invitation. I would like to introduce also one of our commission members, Dr. Harry Burke, who's with me here tonight. I need to also mention Mr. Keith Bolden and Mr. Michael Corley, who could not be here tonight. The four of us are all private pilots. We have good working knowledge of general aviation. We are all four appointed by the county court. We're appointed for a 5-year rotating term. We serve without any compensation from the county or the airport, and we like it that way. We're happy with that. We serve out of a sense of civic duty, out of public service. The fifth member of our Airport Commission is appointed by the county executive, and that's Mr. Robert Hennessy. And we're happy to have Mr. Hennessy with us and his interest in the airport. We value his opinions and his input concerning business decisions. We also have with us tonight our boots on the ground guy, the guy that does the heavy lifting at the airport, and that's our airport manager, Captain Richard Crawford. The five of us are largely administrative. Richard does the heavy lifting, as I said. Let me say that the Southeast has the best small rural airports in our nation. And that's not to say that there aren't nice rural airports all over our country, but as a group, the Southeast seems to have the best. Tennessee, as it turns out, just like our interstate system and our road system, Tennessee seems to have the best small rural airports in the Southeast. And we have ample reason to claim that we believe Warren County has one of the nicest in the state. Our airport was started in 1946. The county court appropriated money to begin the airport. By 1947, we had 2 intersecting grass runways. Soon we had a terminal building and 1 hangar. Today we have 1 runway. It's 5,000 feet long. It's paved, suitable for jet traffic. It has a very nice lighting system so aircraft can depart and arrive after dark. We have an instrument approach, and we're soon to get a second instrument approach, and this allows planes to land in inclement weather. We have a fuel system that's currently undergoing some changes so we can continue to deliver safe and dependable aviation fuel. We have a modern terminal building. We have 2 large hangars. We have 44 T-hangars. 44 T-hangars is probably at least twice what you would normally see at a small rural airport like ours. And this is a good thing. These have proven to be very dependable, reliable, revenue-producing buildings. And these are there purely due to the foresight of the county court. I'm a private pilot, as I said. I have a little plane at the airport in a T-hangar. Some people fish, some people boat, some people golf. This is my hobby. And on the weekends, if the weather's good, I get to go out and enjoy my hobby. I learned to fly at the airport in 1979. Through the years, I've been asked the same question over and over, and maybe some of you have heard this question too. People drive by on the weekends and they see me out, or someone like me, enjoying my hobby, and they say, why is so much money being spent to maintain that facility for you to get out and putt around Warren County? And that's a very good question, and that's a very fair question. But the truth is, our state and federal government has not spent millions and millions of dollars across our country developing the small rural airport network. And they haven't spent millions of dollars at Warren County Airport for me. So why have they done it? They've done it for commerce, in a word. Our capitalistic economy and our government is actually doing something to help our local economy. Our small rural airport system across the nation is, of course, a very efficient way to move people and goods and services across our country. But locally, how does it help us? We have people that fly in regularly to attend board meetings here in the county. We have the owners of Cumberland Caverns that fly in regularly to take care of their business at the Cape. They fly in through Missouri. We have nursery buyers that fly in regularly to visit some of our local nurseries to supply their sales yards and their landscaping business. The governor's plane stops in pretty often, generally on state business, but sometimes they carry people that represent potential new industry to this county. When they get out of the governor's airplane, we want them to see a clean, well-cared-for airport environment. We want them to walk into a modern terminal building and be greeted warmly and professionally. We want their first impression of Warren County to be a very good first impression. There is a bit of air freight that takes place there. not on a regular basis, but on an as-needed basis, and many of you know about that and how some of our local industry has literally been bailed out by being able to move their goods efficiently and quickly. Then, of course, we have the jets that come in that support our existing industry. They move their consultants and their engineers back and forth. So that's why we're there. We're there for commerce. I have to mention that what happens if we don't protect and maintain this gift that we've been given? If the FAA determines that a runway is unsafe, they have a very simple solution. They come in and paint big yellow X's across the end of each runway, and that airport is closed. Cookville, Putnam County no longer has an airport. It happened to them. Their funds now go to White County, where there's a very nice airport called the Upper Cumberland Regional Airport. Tullahoma lost their main runway. They were fortunate they had a secondary small runway that they got by with. They couldn't fly with until they got the problems resolved, so then they were closed. Arlington, Tennessee, just outside of Memphis, they lost their airport. So it is important that we maintain and protect this gift that we've been given. We've always had a good working relationship with you guys at the county court. And with that in mind, I'm going to hush now, and I'm going to sit down. But first, I want to thank you for your time and attention. I want to invite all of you to come to the airport. Come in and introduce yourselves. Ask for a tour. Ask questions. The airport belongs to everybody in Warren County. We want everybody to feel welcome. So now I want to change our focus a little bit. I want to turn this over to our man, Captain Richard Crawford.
Thank you, Dr. Roberts.
Good evening again, Mr. Chairman, County Commissioners. Good evening to the citizens of Warren County. I also thank you for allowing us to be here tonight, and thank you, Dr. Roberts, for your words. I've had to do a lot of presenting over the years, and something I was taught not long ago was when you're doing this to be brief, be brilliant, and be gone. I don't know how brilliant I'm going to be tonight, but in regards to being brief, there's one thing I like to know when somebody's presenting to me, and that's how long are you going to take. So I have 12 slides we're going to cover tonight, give you some basic day-to-day information at the airport about operations, funding, and projects, and we'll be happy to answer any questions you may have at any time or towards the end. Currently, the airport has 5 employees. 2 of those are full-time, 3 of those are part-time. Now, when I was putting this slide together, I didn't think of myself, so with myself, there are actually 6 employees, but I think more of the employees that are doing the day-to-day operations. Without them, I and we could not be successful, so my hat is off to each and every one of them. In regards to aircraft, everyone likes to know what type of aircraft we have on the field or that utilize Warren County Memorial Airport. The picture you have here is of a Pilatus PC-12 November Golf. I actually learned today that November Golf means next generation. I did not know that. The aircraft that utilize the field range from Cessna 150s, which are your basic 2-seater aircraft, all the way up to your Gulfstreams that fly at 35,000 feet and can fly comfortably 8 individuals, 6 to 8 individuals. To give you an idea of one of those aircraft, Tiger Woods has 2 of them, and I'm sure he uses quite often and enjoys. Currently, more than 50 aircraft are based at the Warren County Memorial Airport, are also known as Romeo November Charlie. Many of you here of Nashville International refer to as DNA. That's due to the fact that every airport has a 3-letter identifier. That's how we identify ourselves. What most individuals do not know is that if there's a K in front of that 3-letter identifier, it means the United States. Every country has its own 3-letter identifier, and it's prefixed. In other words, S, if an S was in front of the RNC, it would be Switzerland, and so on and so forth. People ask this question often, and I get some stares when I answer it. We actually maintain more than 300 acres currently at the airport. Most people also don't understand that, you know where the new 4-lane highway is. Across from the new 4-lane highway, we also own and maintain that acreage as well, which is about 30 to 40 acres. It takes quite a bit to maintain the terminal, the acreage, so on and so forth. We have a lot of equipment to do so, ranging from tractors, bush hogs, I could go on and on. Aircraft towing equipment we utilize for the aircraft, just to name another piece of equipment that we use. By the time my maintenance crew starts at one end, let's say the south end of the airport, it takes them 5, 6, even 7 days, depending on weather, to complete the grounds when it comes to cutting, lights, whatever it may be, maintenance. And as soon as they finish, they turn right around and start on the other side. It is an operation that is consistent and never ending. My hat is off to them. One of the reasons we are regulated and want to keep the grounds so nice is that if we allow the grass to grow, let's say we allow it to get 2, 3, 4 feet, well, deer, coyotes, they like to utilize this area. And why is that hazardous? Well, when the deer and coyote get on the runway, that is a safety issue for aircraft, especially at night. Deaths have happened because aircraft will hit deer and coyote on a runway. And even if a death doesn't happen, a prop strike will. And a prop strike, when a propeller hits something, means that you have to have a complete breakdown of that engine. And that can be anywhere from $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 up, depending on the aircraft. It's a large expense to an aircraft owner. So we'd like to prevent that from happening. The safety and security of our pilots, our passengers, are of the utmost importance to us. Moving forward, just wanted to show a picture of our courtesy car. Some of you may remember, I've had the pleasure of working with many of you for years now. Some of you may remember that the Sheriff's Department was nice enough years ago to give us 2 of their old squad cars, and we used those for a long time. They were wonderful. But over time, like anything else, they provided a lot of maintenance, or we needed to provide a lot of maintenance. So we had to move on and buy another courtesy vehicle. And with your help, we purchased this about 4 years ago now. This vehicle is used for pilots and passengers to utilize when they come to the airport. They can take this vehicle if they're just stopping over for an hour, purchasing fuel, then use this vehicle to go to the local eateries, go to the local shopettes. So it's a big boost. I hope it's a boost in the local economy for the pilots to come in and see our beautiful city. So we thank you for this, but we've had this one, like I said, now for about 4 years, and it works wonderfully. So thank you very much for that. Just to cover some projects that we've completed over the years, I started to count them today, and they're numerous, and I'm not going to take a lot of your time with each and every one, but 4 of those are the runway crack repair, seal coat, and remarking, the new AWOS. AWOS stands for Aviation Weather Observation System. This is how pilots will tune in over the radio and receive the current winds, altimeter, cloud cover, whatever information they need to utilize the airport and runway and to do it safely. As most of you know, the road removal, a portion of it, the old Highway 70, and the fencing of the new property. With this road removal, it allows us to remove the displaced threshold on the runway, allowing aircraft more space for landing. And also, we have installed a new security system, which is vital to the airport. We want to make sure, again, we provide everyone with a safe, secure area. Now, I had this slide recently. In regards to the runway crack repair, seal coat, and remarking, you'll see my foot there next to a crack on the runway. That's actually lightning. About 2 years ago, the runway was struck with lightning. It entered here, and it came out in 4 other places on the runway, leaving large chunks of asphalt. I happened to be in the terminal that day, and a pilot called and said, "Richard, do you know there's something on the runway that I did not know about?" And when I went out there, I found out that this is what had happened. So I thank you all for the projects that we continue to do, because they're very important, but there are reasons for each and every one of them. And I don't think many people actually realize some of the problems that we deal with, such as lightning on the runway. So just wanted to give you that for a little information. Moving forward to projects that are underway, I've been reporting to you now for some time about our new fuel farm. What you see here is a picture of basically a hole in the ground where our previous tanks once were. They were removed about 2 weeks ago. That hole since, as of today, has been filled and compacted, and we are ready to move forward with the placement of the 2 above-ground tanks. The above-ground tanks will each hold 12,000 gallons, and one thing that I'm happy to report, and I'm sure pilots are as well, that this new system will have a self-service system, so the pilot can pull up, pump their own fuel at any time. And some pilots prefer to pump their own fuel. Some pilots don't want people touching their aircraft, just as some people don't want people touching their cars. So I completely understand that. This is a picture of the ultimate fuel farm. This is not our exact fuel farm, but this one was just completed at an airport not far from here. And this is the exact system that we will be receiving. We hope to be complete with this within the next 2 months. So I wanted you to see a before picture and an after picture of the fuel farm that we will be utilizing from here on out at the airport. How are we fueling aircraft right now? With the help of 2 fuel trucks. On the left, you'll see a truck that is used for aviation fuel, has about 1,000 gallon capacity. And on the right, you'll see a truck utilized for Jet A fuels, and that's about a 3,000 gallon capacity vehicle. This is how we are performing the fueling operations right now at the airport. Revenue generators. I wanted to mention 2 specific revenue generators. One being the fuel sales, again with both types of fuel, 100 low lead and Jet A fuels, and also the hangar rentals. T-hangars, Dr. Roberts spoke of earlier, and the community hangar. Community hangar is a large hangar that we use for transient aircraft that might stop due to storms, or just overnight layover, and they need somewhere to place their aircraft for the night. We can house them here. So it's very convenient to do so. And it is a nice revenue boost for us. Speaking of revenue, we'll also move into funding. How is the airport funded? One is federal funding. The federal government budgets and disperses funds to all 50 states. Just as you set a budget for the county and disperse it to all the departments, the federal government does it as well. We can utilize this federal funding to support projects at the airport. Also, we have state funding. State funding is provided by the Tennessee Aviation Equity Tax. Now that tax, for every gallon of fuel sold at the airport, or at any airport in the state of Tennessee, 0.045 cents of every dollar is then, every month, show that and turn that over to the state, just like every airport. Why is that beneficial, or what also is beneficial to the state of Tennessee is FedEx. We have FedEx. Most states don't have FedEx or UPS. FedEx, I have heard, sometimes pumps up to 1 million gallons a day. Now, those figures could be wrong, but I'm sure they're pumping hundreds of thousands a day. And if you start doing the figures, you realize how large of a fund this becomes very quickly. Due to the state funding, we are then allowed, or we are then given $150,000 a year that everyone here sees in our budget, that we can then utilize for projects as well. So we have federal funding and state funding that we can utilize for each project. But we can't do that without the local funding. Again, thank you, each and every one of you for this. Capital improvements are funded 95% by state and federal funding. Only 5% do we need for our projects from local funds. So for every $100 that we spend on a project, local funds is only $5. So it is wonderful to have that opportunity in the state of Tennessee. Coming to the end here, when I was speaking to my commission about this presentation, each and every one of us wanted to make sure that you understood, as I know you understand, that this is a memorial airport. This airport is for the veterans of this county. The picture that you see here commemorates those who served and died in World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, and the war on terrorism. Not long ago, Mr. Haley came to me and explained that the VFW would like to donate some bricks to us. These bricks contain the names and ranks and branches of individuals that would like to donate basically money to the VFW. They could have this information put on a brick, and for a long time this stayed with the VFW, and everybody understands where we are with that now. So those bricks are now at the Warren County Memorial Airport for anyone that needed to know that or would like to know that. We want to make sure that those individuals that have bricks are family members that would like to continue doing so. Contact myself at the airport. We will make sure to take care of it. I'd like to thank you again. I hope that was informational and I didn't put you to sleep, but I appreciate you letting us come, Dr. Roberts and myself and the other members of the Airport Commission, and present to you. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I think our airport would be one of the first things that people would look, if ever a corporation would look at, if they were considered located in Warren County. My question, could you describe the building that you've included in your budget and explain why the airport board and you think it is necessary?
Are you speaking of the maintenance hangar, sir?
Yes.
Yes, I would. And actually what I'd like to do, my commission is broken down where individuals are responsible for certain areas, if you will. Before Dr. Roberts became the chairman, with his 20-plus years of experience at the airport, his responsibility was the hangars, were the hangars at the airport. So if Dr. Roberts, if you don't mind, if you'd like to come up and answer the question about that, I'd sure appreciate it.
You're asking about the $125,000 we requested. Okay. To completely answer your question, I need to go back just a little bit. When the four-lane highway to Woodbury was designed, it was designed to go across airport property. So we sold them that property, sold TDOT that property, and they paid us $87,000. Because that property was bought for the protection of the airport by state and federal funds and 5% county funds, that money had to go back to its source. What they told us was that a couple of the committees no longer existed that the money came through, and that it would be very difficult, if not impossible, for them to get the money back to its source. Would it be okay if they left the money at the airport with one condition, and that condition was that it be used at the airport and not go into the general fund? And at that time, the county executive agreed to that, and that's where the money's been in an account, $87,000. About the time that the four-lane was completed and the closing of the section of Old Highway 70, we lost our last outbuilding that we were using to store and maintain our equipment, and we've got a lot of equipment to use. Well, we needed a building. We had $87,000 to be spent at the airport, so we talked to our engineers. We hired, well, they told us what they thought we needed. We hired an architect. We paid him to draw up the plans for the building that they thought we needed. We cut all the fat out of that building. We left nothing but basically a metal building and some lights. And we thought maybe we can build what we need. Well, it turns out that building on government property is much more expensive than building on private property. A lot of government agencies would get involved. And the low bid came in at $168,000. So that was forward almost 5 years ago. We're told that now the cost of the metal building has gone up at least 25%. So the $125,000 that we requested is actually less than 20% more than it would have cost us to build that building 5 years ago. So the way we look at that is we've got $87,000 state and federal funds. If we had $125,000 from the county court, we would find a way to build the building we need. We would get that done. And then there's the, oh, by the way thing. We're having to use 3 of our T-hangars for our equipment now. If we get out of the T-hangars into a building and return those 3 T-hangars back into the income stream that they once were, that money in time would eventually pay back to the county the $125,000 and would continue to pay into the general fund rental income. So our thinking is essentially we would get the building that we need, and it would in essence cost the county nothing. But that's the way we look at it. Does that answer what you need?
Any other questions, Dr. Roberts or Commissioner Hennessy? Did you want to ask Dr. Roberts something?
Well, Richard, that'd be fine. I'm sure you can answer this. One of the things, you'll have 3 additional hangars available. Is that what you're saying?
That's
for
correct.
rent?
That's correct.
Do you have renters for hangars?
Yes. We currently are sitting on a waiting list. That waiting list is approaching 15 at this time. We have a hangar open up, and I have someone in it within a matter of hours sometimes. So, yes, sir, we have a list waiting for those hangars, and very much needed.
Another question. The county at one time built 5 or 6 hangars out there at the airport.
Yes.
And how many hangars are producing money for the county and generating general funds to go into our general fund balance?
We're currently 41 if you take away the 3 that we currently are not renting out.
And the revenue stream on an annual basis is approximately?
For all hangars?
And aviation?
Well, approximately $85,000 is revenue generated from the hangars. That's what you're asking.
So you're saying $85,000 annually is going into the general fund?
Only on hangar rent. I believe this year, and Director Cotton might be able to help me out a little more, but my record is showing we have included $210,000 in the general fund this year. Is that somewhat accurate? No, not somewhat.
I have a question.
That would be fuel sales and hangar rentals. Yes, sir.
What is a T hangar rent for a month?
It varies. T hangars can range from $100 a month to $180 a month. That is due to the size of the hangar. For instance, the hangars that are $180 are for multi-engine aircraft. So that's due to size, and it's also due to what that hangar offers. You know, some of these hangars are older hangars that have been around for many years, and some have only been around for a few years. So it just depends.
Just a guesstimate, how many years is it going to take to pay that back to the county out of the 3 hangars?
Depends on how you look at it. If we are losing 3 hangars right now, last I looked, we are losing somewhere about $6,500 a year generated off of those 3 hangars. Now, do you want to look at it and say that we're putting $85,000 a year into the general fund from revenue generated from T hangars? Well, if you look at it that way, then it'll only take about a year and a half. If you look at just the 3 hangars, then you're looking at a few years. But just as you guys had the foresight to see years ago that when we built these hangars and you paid for that, now those hangars are paid off, and excuse the expression, but everything we're receiving now is just gravy into the general fund. This will be the same scenario. Once we pay this hangar off, everything you receive is just gravy into the general fund. So it depends on how you look at it, but thank you for it.
Any other questions? Director Crawford? I do want to give you all a shout out. You know, it's a huge economic tool to have that airport there. And as TDOT wants to expand air freight, it's something we're going to have to look at long-term in the capital improvements project to be able to do air freight at our airport. Just like having the opportunity to keep our rail service maintained with that contribution we're going to make to the Tri-County Railroad. TDOT is trying to figure out ways to keep more and more trucks off the road, big tractor trailer rigs, and redirect those to regional hubs in areas such as airports so that trucks can pick that freight up at that airport and make a faster delivery rather than being caught in traffic for 2 hours coming out of Nashville or Murfreesboro with traffic accidents happening as frequently as they are. And of course, with new drone technology, there'll be opportunities and stuff as well for that to be staged from warehouses close to airports as well. So, freight and airports are a key economic tool when we're trying to attract new business and industry. So I want to thank y'all for your leadership and for the contributions that you make to the local economy. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night. God bless you.
Thank you. So I thank you for that presentation. Next item is old business. Any member of the board got old business? Move on then to new business. We have several items to consider. Item number 1 is approval of contract for printing and copying between Warren County and R.J. Young. And so that was the contract that we were talking about in order to save across the board the costs of machinery and equipment replacement across the county. So Commissioner Cotton, you want to address that a little bit?
Yeah, this would be a 5-year contract that would offer to the county the ability to either purchase or lease office equipment at a fraction of the cost of what we can currently buy it at. This is based off of Metro, Nashville, and government and school districts purchasing power. So I believe that for the cost of one of the copy machines I have in my office, the entire county can rent or lease, like all county buildings, all current copy machines can be leased for 4 or 5 months for the cost of one machine in my office, and I have 2. So I would spend less leasing and paying a maintenance agreement than I currently spend on toner. This would be a 5-year agreement between us and R.J. Young, so at any time in the next 5 years we want to purchase a piece of equipment, we can purchase it off this contract at this rate.
This has been reviewed and it came out of committee, so is there a motion? We have a motion from Commissioner Hennessy, a second from Commissioner Stotts. Any other discussion? I'll speak to that motion. Then we'll call for the vote.
Michael Bell,
Yes.
Carl D. Bolden,
Yes.
Carl E. Bolden,
Yes.
David Dunlap,
Yes.
Randy England,
Yes.
Deborah Evans,
Yes.
Steve Glenn,
Yes.
Richard Grissom,
Yes.
Stephen Helton,
Yes.
Robert Hennessy,
Yes.
Lori Jenkins,
Yes.
Ron Lee,
Yes.
Gary Martin,
Yes.
Gary Prater,
Yes.
Christie Ross,
Yes.
Scott Ruble,
Yes.
Tommy Savage,
Yes.
Tyrone Spartman,
Yes.
Joseph Stotts,
Yes.
Philip Stout,
Yes.
Cole Taylor,
Yes.
Lane Wiltshire.
Yes.
Anyone want to change their vote? 2 yes.
So motion carries. Next item is resolution number 7-209. Mr. Cotton, would you want to explain this resolution?
This is a resolution allowing the school system to manage the budget for the federal programs. This is a budget that is historically passed by the commission, as these funds are all federally regulated, and the school system is strictly a pass-through entity for this.
We do this every year. So we have resolution number 7-2019. We have a motion to accept from Commissioner Carl E. Bolden. Is there a second? Second from Commissioner Dunlap. Anybody want to speak to that motion? And we'll call for the vote.
Michael Bell,
Yes.
Carl D. Bolden,
Yes.
Carl E. Bolden,
Yes.
David Dunlap,
Yes.
Randy England,
Yes.
Deborah Evans,
Yes.
Steve Glenn,
Yes.
Richard Grissom,
Yes.
Stephen Helton,
Yes.
Robert Hennessy,
Yes.
Lori Jenkins,
Yes.
Ron Lee,
Yes.
Gary Martin,
Yes.
Gary Prater,
Yes.
Christie Ross,
Yes.
Scott Ruble,
Yes.
Tommy Savage,
Yes.
Tyrone Spartman,
Yes.
Joseph Stotts,
Yes.
Philip Stout,
Yes.
Cole Taylor,
Yes.
Lane Wiltshire.
Yes.
Anyone want to change their vote? 2 yes.
Motion carries. Item number 3 is resolution number 8-219. So we'll put that up on the screen. Mr. Cotton, would you want to address that resolution? Commissioner Director Cotton.
Yes, this is the road list.
So before we adopt this road list, I would like to say and have a motion from the road list also includes the closure of one particular road, and it's Brock Road. It's in the Collins River subdivision, and I think both, according to our legal counsel, letters were provided for both that Commissioner Savage and Commissioner Martin, which that road lies in their district, and so just as a formality, but I would entertain a motion from Commissioner Savage or for Commissioner Martin to recommend the closure of that property. It's gone through a highway department committee as well, and the planning commission as well for the discussion. It came upon the recommendation, so I'd entertain a motion to remove that from our list.
Mr. Chairman, I'm familiar with that property and I so move.
We have a motion, Commissioner Savage, or a second?
I'll second that.
Second for Commissioner Martin. Anybody want to speak to that? And all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Now we can consider resolution number 8-219, which is the adoption of the road list that was provided and went through committees, and this came from our highway superintendent, Mr. Levy Glenn. So is there a motion?
I make that
We have a
motion.
motion from Commissioner Wiltshire and a second from Commissioner Stout.
So these motions don't come before the Highway and Bridge chairman or anything like that anymore.
Right.
Y'all going to take care of it, okay?
Thank you. So we have a motion and a second, and someone speaking to that motion. Any further discussion? We'll call for the vote.
Michael Bell,
Yes.
Carl D. Bolden,
Yes.
Carl E. Bolden,
Yes.
David Dunlap,
Yes.
Randy England,
Yes.
Deborah Evans,
Yes.
Steve Glenn,
Yes.
Richard Grissom,
Yes.
Stephen Helton,
Yes.
Robert Hennessy,
Yes.
Lori Jenkins,
Yes.
Ron Lee,
Yes.
Gary Martin,
Yes.
Gary Prater,
Yes.
Christie Ross,
Yes.
Scott Ruble,
Yes.
Tommy Savage,
Yes.
Tyrone Spartman,
Yes.
Joseph Stotts,
Yes.
Philip Stout,
Yes.
Cole Taylor,
Yes.
Blaine Wiltshire.
Yes.
Anyone want to change your vote? 22 yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. Item number 5 is resolution number 10-219. That has to do with the cremation agreement that we have to confirm each year. So, Director Cotton, you want to address that also? Anything to say about it? No. So it's something that we do. It's a standard agreement with cremation service. So is there a motion? A motion from Commissioner Lee, second from Commissioner Stotts. Anybody want to speak to that motion or have questions? Then we'll call for the vote.
Michael Bell,
Yes.
Carl D. Bolden,
Yes.
Carl E. Bolden,
Yes.
David Dunlap,
Yes.
Randy England,
Yes.
Deborah Evans,
Yes.
Steve Glenn,
Yes.
Richard Grissom,
Yes.
Stephen Helton,
Yes.
Robert Hennessy,
Yes.
Lori Jenkins,
Yes.
Ron Lee,
Yes.
Gary Martin,
Yes.
Gary Prater,
Yes.
Christie Ross,
Yes.
Scott Ruble,
Yes.
Tommy Savage,
Yes.
Tyrone Spartman,
Yes.
Joseph Stotts,
Yes.
Philip Stout,
Yes.
Cole Taylor,
Yes.
Blaine Wiltshire.
Yes.
Anyone want to change your vote? 22 yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. Item number 6 is resolution number 11-219, and that is our continuing resolution for our budget. Carry us over using the current budget into the next fiscal year as recommended by legal counsel. Is there a motion? We have a motion from Commissioner Evans and a second from Commissioner Dunlap. Anybody want to speak to that motion? And we'll call for the vote.
Michael Bell,
Yes.
Carl D. Bolden,
Yes.
Carl E. Bolden,
Yes.
David Dunlap,
Yes.
Randy England,
Yes.
Deborah Evans,
Yes.
Steve Glenn,
Yes.
Richard Grissom,
Yes.
Stephen Helton,
Yes.
Robert Hennessy,
Yes.
Lori Jenkins,
Yes.
Ron Lee,
Yes.
Gary Martin,
Yes.
Gary Prater,
Yes.
Christie Ross,
Yes.
Scott Ruble,
Yes.
Tommy Savage,
Yes.
Tyrone Spartman,
Yes.
Joseph Stotts,
Yes.
Philip Stout,
Yes.
Cole Taylor,
Yes.
Blaine Wiltshire.
Yes.
Anyone want to change your vote? 22 yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. Item number 7 was removed from the docket for tonight, so we'll move on to item number 8. Budget amendments. The first, these are all were approved out of committee. So this is budget amendment Highway-FY 18/19-2. So Director Cotton, you want to say something about this?
This would be a budget amendment to clean up some overbalance accounts for the highway department.
We have a motion from Commissioner Bell. Is there a second from Commissioner Grissom? Anybody want to speak to that motion? And we'll call for the vote.
Michael Bell,
Yes.
Carl D. Bolden,
Yes.
Carl E. Bolden,
Yes.
David Dunlap,
Yes.
Randy England,
Yes.
Deborah Evans,
Yes.
Steve Glenn,
Yes.
Richard Grissom,
Yes.
Stephen Hilton,
Yes.
Robert Hennessy,
Yes.
Lori Jenkins,
Yes.
Ron Lee,
Yes.
Gary Martin,
Yes.
Gary Prater,
Yes.
Christie Ross,
Yes.
Scott Ruble,
Yes.
Tommy Savage,
Yes.
Tyrone Spartman,
Yes.
Joseph Stotts,
Yes.
Philip Stout,
Yes.
Cole Taylor,
Yes.
Lane Wiltshire.
Yes.
Anyone want to change their vote?
Motion carries. Item number 9 is a budget amendment, Highway-FY 18/19-5. Once again, this came out of committee, and it basically is just cleaning up or whatever, some line items or whatever to cover funding. So, is there a motion? I have a motion from Commissioner England. Is there a second from Commissioner Wiltshire? Anybody else want to speak to that motion? And we'll call for the vote.
Michael Bell,
Yes.
Carl D. Bolden,
Yes.
Carl E. Bolden,
Yes.
David Dunlap,
Yes.
Randy England,
Yes.
Deborah Evans,
Yes.
Steve Glenn,
Yes.
Richard Grissom,
Yes.
Stephen Hilton,
Yes.
Robert Hennessy,
Yes.
Lori Jenkins,
Yes.
Ron Lee,
Yes.
Gary Martin,
Yes.
Gary Prater,
Yes.
Christie Ross,
Yes.
Scott Ruble,
Yes.
Tommy Savage,
Yes.
Tyrone Spartman,
Yes.
Joseph Stotts,
Yes.
Philip Stout,
Yes.
Cole Taylor,
Yes.
Lane Wiltshire.
Yes.
Anyone want to change your vote?
Motion carries. Next item is number 10, budget amendment, GF-FY 1819-8. So, Director Cotton, you want to address this one a little bit?
Yes, this is a budget amendment to allow the transfer of funds from the jail budget to, some funds from inside the jail budget to another line in the jail budget, but primarily to move funds from the jail budget to the sheriff's budget in order to purchase tasers and stop sticks for the patrol officers.
These are all approved in committee. Is there a motion?
Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to speak
Let's
to the
make a
motion.
motion to approve it first.
I'll make that motion.
Make a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second from Commissioner Grissom. Now, what's your question?
I'd like to speak to that motion.
All right.
This is where we actually in committee have taken some extra monies out of the food supplies, and we're going to purchase some stop sticks, some tasers, actually for the officers. There was a misconception that all of the officers have tasers on them. They do not. So we want to make sure that they have the proper equipment. Means we had some excess monies in the budget this year. We wanted to reallocate those funds and to get some much needed supplies. So our committee supported this fully, and we hope this commission will support it as well.
Anybody else want to speak to that motion? And call for the vote.
Michael Bell,
Yes.
Carl E. Bolden,
Yes.
Carl E. Bolden,
Yes.
David Dunlap,
Yes.
Randy England,
Yes, but I want you to make note of a typo here, please. Mine says Warren County Schools.
All right, you see that?
Deborah Evans,
Yes.
Steve Glenn,
Yes.
Richard Grissom,
Yes.
Stephen Hilton,
Yes.
Robert Hennessy,
Yes.
Lori Jenkins,
Yes.
Ron Lee,
Yes.
Gary Martin,
Yes.
Gary Prater,
Yes.
Christie Ross,
Yes.
Scott Ruble,
Yes.
Tommy Savage,
Yes.
Tyrone Spartman,
Yes.
Joseph Stotts,
Yes.
Philip Stout,
Yes.
Cole Taylor,
Yes.
Lane Wiltshire.
Yes.
Anyone want to change your vote?
Thank you. Motion carries. Director Cotton?
Yeah, the typo is not on the amendment itself, but on the supporting documentation in Granicus. It's just being submitted by the wrong department. It was just an incorrect field.
Mr. Chairman, you also had two other typos. Number 8 was supposed to be the closing of the road, and number 9 was supposed to be road map.
So HYFY 1819-5 was the roadmap? It's not the way it was. Is that the way it was? While we clarify this, Number 9 was the road list rather than the,
8 was the close of the road, 9 is the road.
okay. So we need to go back and correct that. Well, Number 1 was the road list, it was just described or whatever thing, it's still in our work or whatever, it's the same thing, so we may need to go back and clarify number 9, be entered in the minutes that that was the approval of the road list. Does anybody wish to change their vote on that one? Take it as it stands, clerk. As long as the clarification is in the minutes. Correct? Because it was presented that way. So we're ready to move on to item number 11, Budget Amendment GF-FY 1819-9.
This would be an amendment to correct salary line items for the election commission. They had to have extra meetings in order to hire a new administrator of the election, so they're moving money from their secretary's line to the election commission line.
Is there a motion? Motion. We have a motion from Commissioner Grissom, second by Commissioner Stout. Anybody else want to speak to that motion? And we'll call for the vote.
Michael Bell,
Yes.
Carl D. Bolden,
Yes.
Carl E. Bolden,
Yes.
David Dunlap,
Yes.
Randy England,
Yes.
Deborah Evans,
Yes.
Steve Glenn,
Yes.
Richard Grissom,
Yes.
Stephen Helton,
Yes.
Robert Hennessy,
Yes.
Lori Jenkins,
Yes.
Ron Lee,
Yes.
Gary Martin,
Yes.
Gary Prater,
Yes.
Christie Ross,
Yes.
Scott Ruble,
Yes.
Tommy Savage,
Yes.
Tyrone Spartman,
Yes.
Joseph Stotts,
Yes.
Philip Stout,
Yes.
Cole Taylor,
Yes.
Lane Wilcher.
Yes.
Anyone want to change their vote? 2 yes.
Thank you. Next item is Budget Amendment GP-FY 1819-6. Cotton. It's the last item. Oh, we did the 12, I'm sorry. We skipped number 12 then. It's GF-FY 1819-12. Sorry, I skipped over one.
Yes, this would be, the Childhood Advocacy Center has requested an additional $30,000 this year from funds held in a reserve. Collected, this is the only thing the funds can be spent on. There's currently $43,000 in this reserve, and they're requesting an additional $30,000 before the end of the fiscal year.
So is there a motion? I have a motion from Mr. Grissom, second from Mr. Savage. Anybody else want to speak to that motion? We'll call for the vote for item number 12, then Budget Amendment GF-FY 1819-12.
Michael Bell,
Yes.
Carl D. Bolden,
Yes.
Carl E. Bolden,
Yes.
David Dunlap,
Yes.
Randy England,
Yes.
Deborah Evans,
Yes.
Steve Glenn,
Yes.
Richard Grissom,
Yes.
Stephen Helton,
Yeah.
Robert Hennessy,
Yes.
Lori Jenkins,
Yes.
Ron Lee,
Yes.
Gary Martin,
Yes.
Gary Prater,
Yes.
Christie Ross,
Yes.
Scott Ruble,
Yes.
Tommy Savage,
Yes.
Tyrone Spartman,
Yes.
Joseph Stotts,
Yes.
Philip Stout,
Yes.
Cole Taylor,
Yes.
Lane Wilcher.
Yes.
Anyone want to change your vote? 22 yes.
Thank you, motion carries. Now the last item, Budget Amendment GP-FY 1819-6.
Yes, this is to move funds from Office of the Principal and GP schools to cover excess gas costs for buses, or fuel costs for buses, under the transportation line.
So is there a motion? We have a motion from Commissioner Stotts, a second from Commissioner Judkins. Anybody else want to speak to that motion? And we'll call for the vote.
Michael Bell,
Yes.
Carl D. Bolden,
Yes.
Carl E. Bolden,
Yes.
David Dunlap,
Yes.
Randy England,
Yes.
Deborah Evans,
Yes.
Steve Glenn,
Yes.
Richard Grissom,
Yes.
Stephen Helton,
Yes.
Robert Hennessy,
Yes.
Lori Jenkins,
Yes.
Ron Lee,
Yes.
Gary Martin,
Yes.
Gary Prater,
Yes.
Christie Ross,
Yes.
Scott Ruble,
Yes.
Tommy Savage,
Yes.
Tyrone Spartman.
Yes.
Joseph Stotts.
Yes.
Philip Stout.
Yes.
Cole Taylor.
Yes.
Blaine Wiltshire.
Yes.
Anyone want to change their vote? 22 yes.
Motion carries. Next item is approval of notaries. I think Ms. Scott has given you a list of notaries in your presence on the list. We have a motion for Commissioner Bell. Is there a second? Second for Commissioner Grissom. Anybody else want to speak to that motion? And all in favor of approval of notaries, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Next item is announcements. I have two announcements to make. Lynn Bolden was reappointed to the West Warren Viola Utility Board, and so I have to spread those across the minutes. And Middle Tennessee Natural Gas has a list of recommended certified commissioners for 3 counties that I have to read and spread across the minutes. And so for DeKalb County, that is Les Enoch, Randy Trammell, and Larry Green. For White County, that is John Knowles, Tony Parker, and Daniel Johnson. And for Warren County, that is Fred L. Hoover III, Barry Medley, and Susan Marlin. So I want those spread across our minutes, that those are the commissioners for both the utility district and the Middle Tennessee Natural Gas Utility District as well. Another announcement to make, Mr. Cotton, you might want to address the July 27th County Commission special call. County Commission will be cleaning up a lot of our budget and line items or whatever to reflect closing out this budget year.
Yeah, I believe you mean June 27th.
June 20, I'm not July, June 27th. Sorry about that. June
Yes.
27th.
In years past, it's been hard to get all of the budget amendments done, both for my department and for the school system. They run 2 payrolls in June. And we did not get a finding, but we had a strong recommendation that we not allow budget amendments to be backdated in regards to salary line items, which is why a couple of the things were presented here. They must be presented, if they involve salaries, to the full commission. The special call session will be solely to clean up any discrepancies in the books as far as lines that have gone over budget for any reason.
It's going to be solely budget amendments and transfers or whatever to clean up this budget so we can move forward. So that'll be on the 27th. And so also want to announce that some of you see I don't have Matthew with me anymore as my assistant. And so I'm going to introduce Lauren Hennessy. I think you all got the emails. So she will do an exceptional job. So attending MTSU and working in the General Assembly and on several campaigns across the state. She is well versed and techno savvy as well. So we'll be able to transition her into that job. So I want to welcome her to my office as my assistant. And I'm sure each and every one of you will also find working with Lauren to be a pleasure. So we're hoping to keep her longer. Matthew took a much better paying job with a huge promotion and full benefits working for MTSU. And so for a young man and to hold him back that opportunity with a big increase in salary pay with his credentials was very hard for me to say, please stay here when the opportunity was there. So I want to wish him best as well. And you'll still probably see him time because his family still lives here in Warren County and he'll still be frequently visiting. Another item I want to announce, some of you have already seen it. Director Crawford talked about the bricks from the VFW. That facility has been closed and those gentlemen and ladies will be meeting in this building. But those bricks were moved out to the airport from the VFW, but also something that was going to be donated to the VFW is now hanging in our Veterans Hallway. So when you go out, if you want to go down toward my office, you'll see a huge flag that was donated to me in this facility. And Carol Ann Darby hand crocheted this huge giant flag that's like 5 foot by 6 foot, and it was beautifully framed at the local frame shop. And so they donated here. We'll be putting a plaque up, and we're very appreciative of the fact that that is a beautiful addition to this building, and we appreciate the opportunity to showcase it as we honor our veterans down that hallway. And so with that being said, of course, the cruise in is coming up. so ride the Strip. So we'll be having a lot of guests from all across the county in, and I think Senator Bowling will be here, and several other members of the General Assembly will be in town this Saturday as well. So we want to welcome them and the opportunity to showcase our community once again. So anyway, with that being said, does any member of the commission want to recognize Commissioner Stotts?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Members of the commission, thank you. I would like to make just a brief clarification statement tonight in regards to the vote that we took earlier in regards to removing the wheel tax vote from the agenda for tonight. I do not wish for there to be any confusion with the audience that is here about that and what transpired. I also don't wish there to be any confusion in the press or anyone else in the county about that. So the statement I would like to make is in regards to what transpired. And please feel free
I was going to say something.
To correct me if I'm wrong. And Commissioner Helton, Commissioner Ridley, please feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. But what happened here tonight is that there were some of us that felt like further investigation needed to be made into the budget before we felt comfortable casting our vote for or against the wheel tax tonight. And there were those of us that felt like we were ready to cast that vote tonight. So basically what happened was we've chosen to push that vote back to next month's committee. Is that correct?
It's not been asked to be put on the agenda for next month, so until that request is made.
So the clarification is then that you will have to be specifically asked before that can be put back on the agenda?
It'll have to be requested, or it'll have to go back through. It may have to go back through committee and stuff to be added back, because right now it's a failed motion. I mean, there's no way to move it forward with this. It goes back through
Mr. Chairman, can we not bring it up from the floor?
It could be brought up from the floor, but, in the past, this commission has not been too keen on bringing up issues of that proportion without other members of the commission being prepared for it.
Good. Well, I would like to, since you said that, to reflect that, I would like to make it a point to make everybody to know that there are those of us that were ready to vote on this issue tonight, and I feel like there's more effectively economic, viable ways to fund the needs that we have in this county as opposed to adding on a wheel tax. My vote would be no on this issue. That's where I would have stood tonight, and I'll stand in the future. I thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Any further announcements?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Move to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? Second from Mr. Grissom. All in favor say aye. Aye. No further business. We stand adjourned. Thank y'all for a good meeting.